Hi there, my name's Isha and welcome to Higher Life TV, where we take concepts that are considered esoteric, spiritual or new agey and show you how they're practical tools that you can apply today to greatly improve the quality of your life. And when I say quality, what I'm really speaking to is living a life where you feel fully available to every opportunity, every experience, every emotion that shows up. And I don't mean to be hijacked by every single emotion or every single experience or every single set conditions, but actually feel grounded enough to feel open-hearted enough and to feel mature enough to really meet life as it shows up and to feel able to really transform whatever shows up into a source of enrichment and empowerment, because a truly amazing life is one where everything feeds you in a really positive way. And the sad thing is, most of us have grown up without this type of education. We're simply not equipped to make the most out of our lives. So this brings me to today's topic, and I did touch on it in the last video, which was on abundance. Today I want to talk about the contented heart. Now, this may seem like a little bit of a sidestep. I mean, I've been talking about abundance, about flow, compassion, things that are very commonly discussed, at least in personal development circles or life coaching circles, or any kind of area where we're really talking about your life and how you can feel better in it. Because essentially, at the end of the day, the work that I do and my motivation from the very beginning is really to help people just love the life that they're living, to feel good about who they are today in the now, and to really just enjoy being alive. And that sounds a lot harder. It sounds easy. I mean, why shouldn't we just get up and enjoy our lives, especially those of us who are born in parts of the world where, we basically have a pretty good life, materially, spiritually, relationship wise, we're safe, we're educated, we have opportunities. I mean, life's pretty good. The sad thing is that most of us don't feel that good in our lives. Our relationships are not working well. There's lots of dysfunction. People are burnt out. They're feeling lonely, dislocated, disillusioned, powerless. I mean, I have a lot of clients that have a sense of powerlessness in the world, especially when they're watching what's happening out there in other countries where people are not so lucky, not so blessed. And what I've started to notice over the years is we're very fixated on our external lives as a source of contentment, as a source of happiness, as a source of fulfillment. Most people, when they first come to see me, at least people who choose to work with a life coach, when I say, what do you really want? Most people just want to feel better. They want to feel fulfilled. They're looking for a sense of contentment. That's the best word that I can find. People want to feel contented. And how they usually go about doing that is looking for a job that's fulfilling, a job that is satisfying. That would be a great word for it. People want to feel satisfied by the work they're doing. They want to feel satisfied by the food they're eating. They want to feel nurtured by the holidays they're taking. There's this idea that out there is something that can give you this sense of contentment, satisfaction, fulfillment, peace. And I mean, any of you out there who, and I imagine that most people watching this video have done some kind of exploration into spiritual life. The number one teaching in all modern spirituality, and obviously in ancient spirituality, is the answer is not out there. There is no way that you will find something out there that will be sustainably able to provide you with the level of contentment or satisfaction that this part of you is craving. It will happen temporarily, and I think there are people who are living lives where they do feel quite contented and fulfilled, but even those people will say that it's, like a wave. Sometimes there's high levels, sometimes they're detached from it, but it's not sustainable and consistent. It's dependent. There is a dependency relationship when you're going out into the world and seeking a source of contentment or fulfillment. So this brings us to the question of, how does a contented heart solve this problem of feeling unfulfilled or dislocated or disengaged or unhappy or lost, or any of those things, any of those kind of states of being that most of us feel at some point and another? Well, the contented heart, just imagine that, a heart that is truly contented, that is not needy, that is not seeking or searching or feeling a lot, empty somehow. It's just simply at peace. Well, what kind of heart would that be, and what would be available to you if there was absolutely nothing wrong in your life? That everything in the world was operating as it needs to be, and there was nothing for you to do, nothing for you to fix, nothing for you to improve about yourself, about your life, or about anyone else. There was just this sense of contentment. Well, I think most people would find that quite a difficult situation to be in. It would feel very unfamiliar. I mean, what would we do with our energy and our time? Well, I'm going to offer you an alternative perspective today on how we operate as humans and what the true purpose of our life is. At the end of the day, the purpose of our life is to respond to what shows up from our highest potential. And when I say highest potential, I don't mean we use what shows up in our life to develop skills such as being a great speaker or a great writer or being influential or designing. It's not something that we do. Your highest potential is, what is the inner qualities that you can bring out in response to anything that shows up that will enhance, improve, and enrich that experience. So for example, as parents, we have these opportunities all the time. Our child is screaming, they're hungry, they're being difficult, and every part of you just wants to shout, or every part of you wants to take control. But the highest potential that you can bring forth in this very moment when the child is screaming is probably tenderness or compassion. Or you've had a fight with your partner, they've really upset you, they've been insensitive, they haven't acknowledged perhaps all the hard work that you've been putting into the relationship, they've been distracted, and they say something that really triggers in you this sense of not being appreciated and not being recognized, and every part of you wants to defend, to protect the wound in you, to attack, to point out exactly what they haven't recognized and perhaps how selfish they're being. And trust me, I've been in that situation plenty of times. And if you come from that reactivity, you come from that defensive heart, let's say, there's a sense of rejection, a sense of indignation, and the heart hurts and you want to protect, so you attack. You're not creating an environment between yourself and that other person and out in the world that is very conducive to peace, to love, to happiness, to high quality daily life experiences, which is what most of us want. It's not going to generate a sense of contentment. What it's probably going to do is just increase the conflict and make everybody feel terrible. So what might be the highest potential in your response? Well, you might take some time out, you might breathe, and you might consciously look for the goodness in your partner, the goodness in your relationship. Now, you might not, that's not condoning someone's behavior when they've done something that really is thoughtless or inconsiderate or hurtful, but you're looking beyond the behavior and you're remembering the goodness of that other person and the goodness of your relationship. And, the highest potential response you might have in that moment is to say nothing. Is to just, go and make a cup of tea and let the situation dissolve or diffuse, and just stay in that open-hearted space, not shutting down. Now, these are just two examples that I've given that are familiar to me, but there's many, many other examples out there. You've got to empty the dishwasher for the 100th time, or you've got to deal with a difficult boss. There are so many situations that show up in our life every single day that offer us an opportunity to bring our highest potential forward in that moment. And when I say highest potential, to tap into those inner resources, such as kindness, compassion, generosity, love, thoughtfulness, humor. I mean, there are so many inner strengths that we have available to us as human beings that we can bring forward in any situation to really transform it from being a mundane situation, such as emptying the dishwasher, to being a potentially high conflict situation, such as a fight with a partner, or a potentially hurtful or wounding situation, such as coming in hard on a child who is already distressed. These are ways that if we're not in touch with those inner qualities, those innate human resources that we have to really meet a situation and get a good result from it, if we're not in touch with that, we do tend to go around and be quite destructive as human beings. So a contented heart is in fact a heart that is very aware of its capacity to offer inner qualities outwards, such as, some of the things that a contented heart would contain is the ability to forgive, the ability for compassion, the ability for appreciation, the ability for gratitude. Now here's one, the ability for sorrow. I mean, we don't like the idea that we can feel a lot of sorrow in our hearts, but the heart is a processing system. It helps us process the emotional aspects of our life, and being able to process and feel sorrow, wow, what a beautiful inner resource that is, to be able to meet some of those harder, poetic losses in our life and actually experience them as sorrow. Now, for people out there who live a lot of their life in a state of numbness, which is, when they tap into their heart, they don't really feel much at all. They would maybe love to feel sorrow, love to feel joy, all these different states of being that the heart has access to and that the heart can feel and process in our lives. Wow, I mean, it's such a powerful energy. However, in order for the heart to be able to offer such diverse experiences, it needs to be grounded in a kind of neutral state, and that's what I would call the contented heart. The heart that realizes that there is nothing more that it actually needs, and that its purpose in life and our purpose in life is to shine brightly, to bring the best of ourselves into every single situation that shows up, every single relationship. And I don't mean to be a perfect human being. No, not at all. We need to ditch perfection. What I'm asking you to consider, to explore in your life, is that a contented heart is one that actually deeply, fully accepts the human condition, the beautiful diversity of being human, that we can feel grief and sorrow and anger and rage and happiness and joy, and we have so many different ways of engaging with our life that creates all these different types of outcomes. Now, last week I talked about why the contented heart, or I introduced the idea that the contented heart is really the source of all abundance in our life, or at least it allows us to channel our abundance out into the world. And what I meant by that is that when you're really, really aligned and really connected to your heart space, and you realize that you have this inner power to really transform the quality of your life and transform the lives of others by bringing out these beautiful qualities of the heart, you become a very, very powerful human being. And when you have a little bit of insight and awareness around what your core gifts are, or your core inner soft skills, I like to say, that you were naturally born with, and you realize like this is your little toolkit. These are the gifts that you've been given to actually cultivate and to bring out into everything you do, to really radically improve the quality of life, not only for yourself and for the people you touch, but for the whole universe. Wow, you become like a really, truly remarkable human being. So I know that was a very kind of, it took a little bit of a meander today to explore the contented heart, and it really is an open area that does need a lot more deep dives into it. But I really wanted to leave this with you today. An abundant life, which is a life that so many of us sense is available to us, is a life in which you feel so connected, so in tune with this inner power system that you have, these different gifts, these different capabilities and competencies to be really human and to connect with other people in your humanity in these really human ways, and to really bring out your creative self, your humorous self, your playful self, your generous self, your thunder self, and to really bring these out into your relationships, into the work that you do in the world, into the way that you clean your house and the way that you help the friend next door, the way that you walk your dog. When you're just tapping into all this abundance and channeling it out, your whole life transforms. It transforms from being mundane, from being very superficial, to becoming this masterpiece, this mythical story where you're able to touch people positively no matter what's happening in you, no matter what's happening in them, because you are become a master of your heart. You have a contented heart because you know everything is absolutely okay all the time. So I really hope that this video has inspired you to think differently about your heart space, and to understand that you can have a contented heart no matter what's happened to you in your life. A contented heart can feel sorrow, it can feel rage, it can feel guilt, it can feel all of these things, but underneath it knows that it is grounded in something magical, something powerful, that it has the capacity for so much giving and so much receiving. So really today I'd love you to sit with that and just imagine that heart as a giver of your best self and a receiver of just all these opportunities that life brings you to be able to bring forth your highest potential. So if you'd like to know more about what we do at the Higher Life Academy, and you're really interested in playing your part in improving the quality of our life as a species and of all species in the world, I suggest you travel over to the Higher Life Academy and sign up for our free masterclass, The 3 Cornerstones of a Spiritually Driven Life, where we really talk about the big transition that's happening in humanity, where we're moving really from a progress-orientated way of living, where it's all about what you can have, what you can get, how successful you need to be, to a much more mature and evolved way of interacting with each other, where we're really thinking about how can we come together collectively as a species and start to really shift some of those mindsets and behaviors that are very destructive, and start replacing them with really cooperative, really empowering and really enriching ways of engaging with life that will benefit all of us. So until next time, take care and love life.